Hello YouTube. Today I wanted to show you this is a Mercury 2 camera from I believe the late 30s, and this has got to be one of the coolest cameras I've picked up so far. It's of the ones that I have, it's certainly the most unique. There's 100 videos about these on the internet, but we'll go over this anyhow. So this is the basic camera. It's a rotary shutter. That's why it has this big hump on top. There's a button on the bottom right here. You press that, the back opens up, and it pretty much looks like any other camera. This shoots in half frame, and you can see the reduced size of the frame area here. And as I said, it's a rotary shutter. It's a two-piece rotary shutter. And when you change the speed, which is up front here, the shutter doesn't sound any different one frame to the next. Let me wind this up. So that is, we'll set it for that by the little knob says 1,000th of a second. So that's what that sounds like. You wind it up again and set it to, say, 1/60th of a second. Sounds about the same. How that works is the rotary shutter is a two-piece shutter, and rather than varying the speed at which the shutter turns, it varies the light opening. I'll try and show you this here. You have to wind it up, and then you push and turn the speed adjustment knob, and you can see that second, I think you can see that second shutter moving. And apparently what it does, rather than changing the speed of the shutter, it varies the opening from what I guess would be a 1/60th of a second down to 1,000th of a second, or yeah, 1/1000th of a second. And that is pretty neat the way that operates. So that's that. It's got the wind knob here and film take up. This one's in pretty nice shape given its age. So on the front, you've got the film advance knob, and you wind up the film, and then you push and turn the shutter knob right there like that to whatever speed you want it at, and then you would make your lens adjustments in distance, f-stop, so forth. And you'll see that when you press the shutter, the film speed knob unwinds, and it's very much like the old Russian cameras of the early Leicas. And you have to set your film counter manually. So you would turn that around, in this case to the number 1, wind it up, take the picture, and you can't see it, I'm sure, on this, but each time you wind up the shutter, this little gizmo turns with it, and by little tick marks advances 1 tick mark for each frame. And it's just an awesome little camera, and it's got a bunch of pretty unique features. This is also just beautifully made. This is aluminum magnesium cast housing, and it's the magnesium that makes the Mercury 2s dull as compared to the Mercury 1s, which were a different aluminum alloy, and they remained shiny throughout the years. The aluminum magnesium housings would tarnish and become dull looking. Let's see. So film advance counter, your actual manual film advance, your shutter speed. When you want to rewind, all you have to do is you turn this knob, and if you can't read that, it's a little mark that says rewind, so you turn the arrow to where it says rewind, and then you can rewind your film. And on here, on both sides, it's got they call it the depth of focus. Everybody else nowadays calls it depth of field, and it gives you your f-stops relative to your distance and what you can expect in terms of depth of field. And it's the same thing on this side. So you can, like a quick reference guide, so you can know at a given f-stop what your depth of field is going to be. I think everybody pretty much knows that. Probably the coolest thing about this is right on the back there's a mechanical manual. It's not really mechanical, it doesn't do anything except turn. Do-it-yourself metering system, and it's kind of cool in the way it works. It's got three circles, 2 are movable, and you're going to need, well, unless you're a 20-year-old, you're going to need a magnifying glass to see this. But down, very quickly, down here is where you set the innermost movable ring, which is right here. I'll just move that a little bit so you can see. You set your film speed, ASA, to this first little triangular mark, and then there's a 2x and a 4x, and those are for filter factors. So if you were working with, I can't read this because I don't have my magnifying glass right handy, but say you were working with 50 speed film, you'd put the 50 right there on that first little triangle. And if you were working with a couple of filters that totaled up to a filter factor of 2 or 4 or whatever those teeny little numbers say, you'd put your film speed on either one of them, and that would correct for your filter factor. And then you've got 2 sets of, they're almost like various scenes that you might encounter. It would be more convenient if I had a magnifying glass, but I don't right here. Anyway, one is for summer, one is for winter. You have 2 different gauges for summer and winter. You have a metering gauge. I'm not exactly clear, and the directions online don't really get specific about these inner ones, so I'll just stick with this. It's summertime now, and among other things, you have skylines, streetscapes, open shade, deep woods, various potential settings you might find yourself in. And on either end of, let's see, landscapes is right here. It's got a circle, an open circle on one end, and down here it's got a full black circle at the other end. What that is for, say this is landscapes, the open circle would be for full sun, and then it gradually goes down. There's a center line here which would be for like hazy, and when you get to the blackened out circle, that's for cloudy conditions. So you're at ASA 50, which I'm not actually. I'm trying to do this without a magnifying glass here. So I'm going to pretend. Oh, I'm almost there. Okay, so we're on ASA 50 with no filter factor, and we're going to do a landscape on a sunny day. So then we move this outermost movable ring Okay, now armed with a magnifying glass, I can now see that this is indeed set for ASA 50 with no filter factor. 2 p.m. on a sunny day, shooting a landscape, and if I'm hypothetically shooting at 100th of a second, it tells me that I want, wow, f13. I've never heard of f13. So we go to front of the camera and we search through, and it doesn't even list an f13 on the very tiny little dial. So it's, in that case, on a sunny day, I am going to go with a 1/16 of a second, because that is marked on here. So I line up the little teeny 16, f16, with the even littler and teenier tick mark that says where f16 is, or needs to be. And then I can use this little knob to adjust for my distance, which we'll say is infinity, which is right there. And then you're ready to shoot. Wind up the shutter. Adjust your shutter speed to 1/100th of an inch. 1/100th of a second. The F is set to f16. Looks a little big in there for me, but that's what it says. And then you're ready to take the picture. I have shot a roll of film through this. I don't have it back yet. I'm anticipating some possible overexposures, because this too is an experiment. I haven't used this before, but it should be interesting. And this is just a cool camera. I love the way this thing looks. I like the way it works. It's simpler to operate than I make it seem using this dial. And I'm hoping that I can get some good images off of a roll. One thing I did was I took 4 images, or took 4 pictures of each subject each time, rather than because I want to know if the shutter speed is even working, because I can't tell. I shot 1 frame each at 100th, a 200th, a 300th, and a 1000th of a second. So I want to see if the images gradually become more underexposed as it goes along, using all the same other adjustments. But this is it. I picked this up at a flea market. I think I paid $10 for it, and it was in really nice shape. Came with its original case, which is in pretty nice shape. The Viewfinder also has a correction for close-ups. If you can't see it, there's two little pointers in there, and if you're close, and the online manual says how close, if you're very close to a subject, rather than center up your subject right in the middle of the viewfinder, you'd center up on those 2 metal pointers, and that'll correct, because it's not parallax corrected. That'll correct for being very close to your subject, as opposed to further away, when the subject will, in the viewfinder, be in the center. This allows you to still center up a subject while being within a given short distance. I hope this made sense. I feel, again, like I got kind of rambly, but this is just a cool camera, and if you find one and you can get a decent price on it, I would grab it, because it was fun to shoot. It really was. It feels solid. It's reasonably comfortable to hold. The controls are awkward, but they have a uniqueness to them that makes them just a lot of fun. And I'm glad I got it, and I'm looking forward to getting the film back. And I love this exposure calculator on the back. It gives you a variety of different. I'll read you some of some of the options. Yeah, sky, sea, snow, close-ups, landscapes, open shade, street scene, deep woods, and for the winter time, again, it's street scene, deep woods, landscapes, open shade, sky, sea, snow, close-ups, and your winter scale is the same thing. It shows before 8 a.m. or after 4 p.m. 8 to 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. are your options on the little arrows in this triangle.